Well, congratulations. You've either decided to get yourself a lift eFoil or you're thinking about it and want to see what the assembly is. This video is everything that you're going to need to get assembled with your lift eFoil, get out on the water. When it's shipped to you with 3 boxes. This first one, the big one, has the board in it. The second one has your mast, power drive, and controller inside of it. And then your third one is this box here with your battery. It's a little bit heavy, around 28 pounds. Let's look inside. Okay, so this is your battery. It's about 28 pounds, give or take. On the battery, you have an indicator. These indicator lights, when it's fully charged, they're gonna be fully lit up going across. You can see they're not quite fully charged. You have the data port right here, the protective cap you wanna keep in there, and you have your power connection source right here. So one of the first things we're gonna do is we're gonna get this out, get it charging, so as you assemble the rest of it, it's getting ready for your first ride. Inside of this, it's all packaged up. And we'll put the board aside for a second. Let's look and see what's inside of here. Okay, so inside of this, check this out. In here, you have your controller. The controller is inside of all this. Bubble wrap, let's just go ahead and open that up. It typically will come with batteries already included, ready to go. If you're a left foot forward, put the strap on your right side. If you're right foot forward, put the strap on your left side. Power cord for the charger. In addition to the charger, you have this, your carbon mast and your prop, all in one piece with a couple connection points. We'll go through that. You know, with your charger, this metal stuff going around the outside of your cooling sinks to let heat dissipate. Don't put anything over it. You want to put this into a dedicated outlet. On the bottom here, there's a little lightning bolt. When it's charging, the battery is charging, you'll see this lightning bolt on. When it goes off, that means it's done, over, you're ready to ride. I always plug in the power connection point first, then the data, and then plug it into the wall. Here we go, let's go ahead and get that set up. You can see here from the light, it's charging, that gives you a charging status. The data point port into that cord, match the red dots. Here's what this will look like. When it's all done, that little lightning bolt goes off. Okay, so the battery's charging. We opened up our mast and got our stuff set up. Now we gotta get the board out of the bag, so let's go ahead and do that. Inside the box, it's nice and packed. This styrofoam, this right here in the foam, this is your tail wing. We'll go ahead and get this out and show you how to assemble it. With lift, it's very straightforward. There's no fuselage. It is the fuselage. And for all you aspiring wake foilers out there, you can go ahead and use this all carbon eFoil connection point, get a standard mast, put that on your board so you pick up yourself a wake foil set as well. In this case, it's a 380-38 surf tail, nice tail to get started with. This right here is our leading wing. Oh yeah, 200 surf V2, fantastic front wing for people getting started in the case. Okay, board's out of the box. Let's get it out of the bag now. The boards are gonna come in this carrying case. Keep your board in the case all the time. It keeps it protected. It's mostly carbon board, so it's gonna scratch if you get it on rocks and other things. So when you go to a parking lot, put this down underneath your board to keep it nice and looking new. On the board, there is a place for the foil to go through. Here at this side, this splits on the board case. When you're taking the tissue paper off your board on the inside, go ahead and just do that by hand as opposed to using a cutting knife. And that'll just make sure that when you do this, you don't put any marks in the board. Sweet. So this board, this is the 5.4. This is a great board if you're starting to learn how to foil and get going. You can see everything here. We'll open it up and take a look inside. And you know, down here is obviously the spot that we're gonna put the mast in. The mast goes here with the cords through the controller. Inside the case with your mast comes a couple different things. This is Realex. What you do with this is put a little dab of this on your connection points, the 3 wires that come up through the bottom of the board. Keeps it nice and fresh. You do that periodically. You get an instruction in terms of how to assemble your eFoil guide. So if you would rather read about it as opposed to listen to me, you got that going for you. In addition to that, you have these are your connection points, the short little chubby guys are the ones that connect the mast onto the board. Then you have these longer screws. The longer screws are how you put your two parts of the front foil and the back foil together on the mast. This is what you need right there. And then, just in case down the road this blew, not something you need right now, this is extra sealant, so if something happens to the sealant around the inside of the board, this is what you have. So get your Real X out, get your 2 sets of screws, and let's do this, baby. Love the smell of a new board. When we open this thing up, look inside. Now up here you have all your connection points. This is where you're gonna connect your power. This right here is how you lock your battery in place. This is your water connection point. We'll show you how to connect that when the wires come up and through. And look at these things, they're color coded. So you don't have to be, if you can match a color to a color, you know how to set up this board. Also in here, warranty and registration information. Keep this, don't throw it away. Now it's important with your data points to keep these clear and straight. So never force it in. Line up the red dots before you put them anywhere, and you'll make sure that everything is working right. Likewise, the power connection point here has a connection where you slide it over the nub and then you churn it. You may have to exert some force to go ahead and do that, but don't worry about that. That's, it's not a problem. You'll see the connection points. I'm going to put the Real X on in a second. Now remember, when we put the mast on, these are the tips that we're going to put Real X on. These are the short screws that we're going to put the mast onto the board with. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get my screws out right here. There's 4 of them. There's one spare in here. And this is going to be the Allen wrench that I'm going to go ahead and put it on. Now pro tip here, as you go ahead and put this mast on, what you're going to do with the wires is you're going to feed them through forward to give you a little bit more room to work with once it's up there. So what that means, obviously the propeller is going to go back, and I'm going to feed these forward with the water tube as well. And notice there's cork on the bottom. There's a little indentation that I'm lining up. Once it's lined up, I will have to give it a little bit of a push to get a nice secure connection. Once I push down, it's pretty secure, and we'll go ahead and start tightening it. When I'm tightening the mast, and this holds for whether it's a wake foil board or whether it's an eFoil board, I typically will work around the outside, tighten them a little bit at a time. Now if you're lucky enough to live near the water, or you have a big enough car that you can fit this in assembled, you won't have to take this mast off all the time. But you're just looking to go ahead and hand tighten it. And then after you ride it, the first couple times, periodically check on these just to make sure they're tight. Because what you want to have is a nice tight seal in there. This thing is, obviously goes in the water, but that doesn't mean that it wants to have water inside that compartment, and you don't want this to get loosened on you and potentially, fall off. So after you ride it a couple times, so you might be going up to 28 miles an hour, stuff might shake a little bit loose. Go ahead and check this to make sure that everything's staying snug. And again, this is hand tighten, this is not machine tighten. And so you're just getting these nice and snug. Check them periodically. Okay, so that's all there is to it, putting the mast on. Okay, so the mast is on. Now it's time to put the foil together. And you'll notice right here, kind of what that looks like. We're just gonna fit right over the top. There's only 2 screws that we need to put in here, but we need to make sure that the foil is assembled. So grab your front foil, grab your back foil. Pretty straightforward. We're gonna take these 2 screws off of the back. Couldn't be easier. Lift has made this so easy. All we're going to do is assemble just like that. Now the only thing I have to do to put these 2 things together is 2 screws, which is pretty nice. So again, this same assembly, you can buy a mast that doesn't have the power cord and the controllers going through it, so that when you go to want to use this behind a boat, you have a wake foil setup too. It's a nice double feature of getting the lift foil, because these ride quite nicely behind the boat. You can check out some of our other reviews. Okay, so once you have these screws in here, again, they're hand tightened, we'll go ahead and line it up with the board. Obviously, this big guy goes towards the front, and we just line it up over the mast and go ahead and put a little pressure, just a little bit. We'll get it nice and flush. There we go. Let's get a view of that. Nice and flush. And once you do that, these are all lined up for these screws to go right in there. They go down. And again, we're gonna hand tighten them. And we want these to be nice and snug. And again, I'll repeat it. After you ride a couple times, come back out, check these screws, just make sure they're nice and tight. And I'll add to it, if you do any modifications to the propeller back here, make sure you check that screw periodically to make sure that propeller's on. Everything's looking good, it's on there, nice and flush. Give it one last check. Okay, this completes your assembly in terms of what's on the bottom. Now all we have to do is connect those cords, put a little Real-X. So let's take a look at that. Okay, now once we turn the board over, notice that because we put these cords forward, they're nice and loose. Here we have our water connection. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and take this water connection, and that's the blue internal. I'm gonna take this water connection, the blue internal, and I'm gonna connect it with the connector there. You know you have it when it snaps together. It's very difficult to do it any other way. Now notice, after you use the board, each time in the water, you want to rinse it out. And to do that, there's an intake hole on the bottom of the board. Just put a hose or something up there and gently run water through it. You know it's running through it when you see water coming out the other end. So I cut a little hole in the Real-X, this little thing. We'll go ahead and put on those connection points. Now you want to do this periodically, just to keep these connection points nice and lubed up. Doesn't take a little bit. It's just a little bit that you're gonna put on there. Now, here comes the thing. Could not be easier. Once we put a little bit of Real-X on there, now it's time to just match colors. There's nothing to this. It's as easy as you can. And as you'll see here, each one of the cords has a color mark on it. Yellow, red, green. And we're just gonna match that up to red, yellow, green. Voila, we're done. Now all we gotta do is put a battery in there. Let me show you that. You call with the battery. We have our power connection, these two guys here, and our data port connection right here. I usually do power first, then data. All we do is there's a little ledge here inside. I'll show you close up. There's a little ledge we set it down into. We have put our cap up so it can fit flush. Go ahead and make sure that this is turned sideways. Set it down flat. Twist that, make sure that that's set. Now we're gonna go ahead and attach the power first. This little opening needs to be towards the knob. So we'll move the data. Okay, data port's off to the side. We'll go ahead and connect. There you go. As you push it in, it'll start to turn, and then you'll just twist this knob the rest of the way to get it fully connected. And you'll know it's fully connected when it goes to this vertical connection point. Now here again, we'll take the red dot, we'll attach it to the red dot inside, and there you go. Don't force it, it should always click really nicely. Now we're all done. We want to go ahead and turn it on. We'll go ahead and push this button here. And you'll notice that the battery turns blue as this is flashing. And then you'll hear an audible click. Once you hear that audible click, you're ready to go. Go ahead and close the top, twist those nice and flush. We'll get our controller, power on with our controller. At the top, lift logo comes up, tells us that we have a low battery, so we know we need to put a new battery in there, and we'll go ahead and do that. Oh, it's low battery because I'm using a battery that isn't charged. But you notice here, I can go ahead and change my power levels from 15 down, right? And when we come over here, we can go ahead and test and see if how things are working. Go ahead and power that off. There we go. That's powered off. And that's it. Hope this has been helpful for you. Get out there, enjoy your eFoil. Again, the battery shows you the lights go off when it's done. control your power level right here. If you want to learn how to ride an eFoil, the basic steps, go ahead and look at this other video right here. Thank you so much. If you have any questions about your lift, give us a call at the number below or come visit our website. We're always here for you. If you need some help selecting the right lift, we got you covered too. So just reach out to us and we'll get you all hooked up so you're out flying on the water. There is no greater feeling. Get out there, enjoy, and we'll talk to you soon.